me around. So what I'll do is I'll talk to you guys about how to get your website sort of aligned with your sales and also the marketing funnels. Just a quick intro about myself. So I founded a couple of companies. One is a MarTech company called Momento, based in Malaysia. And then another marketing services company called Infection, coming out of Sri Lanka. And then I've been getting a couple of awards. So was awarded as the one of the 50 most influential marketers a few years ago. I was also Intuit Marketing Star Award winner, really passionate about lecturing, sharing my knowledge. So I do some part-time lecturing at Plymouth and in certain other universities. Really passionate about technology and also marketing. So can kind of define myself as a tech marketer. So I'll straight away jump into things. So what I'll do is I'll maybe take you through some of the theory, so to speak, and also some real life examples of how this has come into practice. Before doing anything, I think you need to get your funnel right. So when I speak to most business owners or most marketers, what I hear is, okay, I know my funnel, but do you really? You need to really define your funnel. What are your objectives based on some of the key success factors, some of the business trends, where you're doing business? This can change. Don't go into like a real basic funnel. Sometimes you need to figure out whether it's a funnel that you need to look at. I'll explain to you what I mean by that later on. And the other thing you need to figure out is who's your ideal customer. Sometimes in business, we tend to go behind leads, but who is the ideal lead for us? We need to look at the back end of it, whether we can support it. So these are things that you need to think about before you start setting up your site for success and also aligning with your website. You also need to figure out where these potential customers or potential leads are. What are they looking for? So these are some of the questions that you need to understand before you align your sales or marketing funnel with your site. The funnel is about 100 years old. It's a very old way of looking at things. But most businesses and most marketers, they still love it, mainly because of the ease of use. So you can actually look at it from operating point of view, or even from a reporting standpoint. Even the finance people, they love it. So you can report things according to that. But the funnel is changing mainly because our customers are changing. So we need to adopt more of a lifestyle or a life cycle model as opposed to a funnel model. Again, like I said, it's mainly because our buyers are very, very complicated now. And we can't accurately predict where a lead is. If you take a funnel, sometimes if you take FMCG, I actually have an example later on. People come to your funnel at various points. It's not just at the awareness stage. Sometimes, they just straight away come to the middle of the funnel and start transacting. So you need to be prepared for this unpredictability of things. That's what we call it nowadays. And a lot of the conversions happen after a conversation. So it can be an online chat. It can be a telephone call through an account manager. It can be a band qualifying call, whatever it is. Conversations lead to conversions. So this whole conversational commerce part actually comes into play. And I think it's time that we brought those in as KPIs also. So you have your typical awareness, interest, decision, and then the bottom where you have the loyalty side. But you need to treat this not as a funnel, but more as a life cycle where you need to understand who your ideal customers are, what is the life cycle they want to spend. Obviously, you have Google Analytics to help you out. But if you're starting from scratch, you won't have data. So where do you start? So that's why you need to make some assumptions, look at some external data, figure out how are you going to align your KPIs, your objectives, or your funnel to your website. One of the starting points that I always go for is the buyer personas. Again, this is not something new, but there are certain changes that has happened here. So back in the day, we used to create this for our ideal customer. which is still true. But we need to ideally put a face to the name, figure out who our ideal buyers are, and we need to also know who we don't want. That is very important. This is where sales and marketing really need to align themselves. This is where the disparity happens, but this is where you really need to spend some time, figure out who you don't want, as well as who your ideal customer is, and then align. So you actually put a face to the name, so to speak. Figure out, not just say that I want to target somebody within the age range of 25 to 35, but actually somebody who has a lifestyle like this, who interacts with brands like this, who lives like this. So go much more deeper into your customer or potential customer. Understand who these personas are. Whilst we all talk about leads, everybody, all businesses, they want leads, but people tend to forget the nurturing part. Just because we made eye contact today doesn't mean we are pretty serious, right? So I know it's a joke, but that is the truth. You just because somebody comes to your website does not mean they become leads or they don't convert. So you need to nurture them. By nurturing, what I mean is, we need to start talking to them, trying to understand what they need. And buyers nowadays, they have this massive fear of missing out because there's a lot of choices. So there is this behavioral economics concept, there is something called choice overload, which actually applies to the whole of the internet as well. There's a lot of stuff to be looked at, and people don't want to miss out on things. Maybe B2B, even B2C, people want to get the best out of it. So how do you actually facilitate a conversation like that? Again, the conversation part comes in, and you need to keep in touch. And good KPIs nowadays even have chat to conversion rates, not just your typical top of the funnel conversion, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. That's still there, but then you need to sort of dissect a little bit figure out how you're going to measure these chat to conversions and various other KPIs that might be helpful for you in order to figure out how to align your sales with your site. There's a few more stuff that you need to also think of, which is basically getting your house in order. First thing is you need to make sure Google sees you. As you know, you need to target people who have the right intent. The cliched word is your low-hanging fruit. How do you target them? Obviously, you need to get yourself ranked up on Google for the right keywords, right? And I think I mentioned this some time ago also. There's something called the core web vitals that have come in, I think from May onwards, it's going to come, where Google is actually, all of us know our site has to be mobile friendly because lots of people watch things, buy things, consume things on mobile. So we know that. We know we need to make the site secure and safe so that in the person or the buyer's mind, they know they are going into a secure environment. We can't have any intrusive interstitials or pop-ups or updates. Google doesn't like it. We know that. But there are three key things that are going to come out, which is called core web vitals. Basically, it's your LCP, FID, and your CLS. So these three items, the loading speed, the interactivity, and the visual stability, these three signals are going to be very important in the future. Start reading about it because it's going to be very important. A Google study of over millions of pages and impressions found that when a site meets the recommended threshold for the core web vitals, users are at least 24% less likely to abandon a page as well. So getting your house in order is something you need to do at the point where you start to develop the site as well. I think like the previous speaker said, it's good to have a really nice looking site, but if Google can't see it, or if you can't be found, then there's no point. The other thing is you need to figure out the meta tags on your page because that is what defines who you are. That's what Google sees. That's what people will eventually see after Google ranks you up. So, you go to a website, look at how the meta names, meta descriptions, the properties, how are they structured? does it have the right keywords? And nowadays you can't just stuff keywords. You need to have a proper description in proper English or whatever the language you use. So, you need to figure out that, and get your house in order. That's one of the key things that you need to do once you figure out your personas. There's something new that's coming up. Well, I'd say new, but it's been there. So voice search, all of us use it. I think a few years ago, 20% was the number given by Google for global search happening through voice, but I'm sure it's increasing now. So, by 2023, we are going to see about 8 billion searches happening. So we need to be ready for it. How do people speak? How do people type? You need to be very contextual. Some text-based searches might be 1 to 3 words, but voice searches will be long tail. So you need to kind of get this house in order part done at the start, so that once you start running campaigns, generating leads, you come up for the right reasons, and also your conversion rates are quite high. And just one more thing in terms of this, there's some data that I got from Google. So if you have a page and if you start optimizing it, it can be a website, it can be your conversion pages, it can be your awareness pages, content pages, whichever it is. If you increase certain things a little bit, you see massive outputs from it. For example, if your page load time goes from 1 second to 3 seconds, your bounce rate will increase by 32%, which is not good. If it increases from 1 to 5 seconds, it goes up to 90. If it goes from 1 to 10 seconds, it goes up to 123% or 123%. So this is the kind of impact. You can reverse that and see, if you reduce from 10 to 1, it'll reduce the same amount of bounce. So think accordingly, or think about the technical side of the site also before you go into a lot of creative heavy, because that is important as well. And don't be content with the content that you have. You need to align content with sales goals and your customer objectives. The funnel that I have here, your typical funnel will start from awareness, then getting them to act, consider, and then convert. But in this case, there's a lot more depth in here. Once they come into the site, they're not going to buy immediately. They want to familiarize themselves. Then you need to capture the user intent. Some people who know what they want might search for something direct. They might come to a different part of the funnel. How do you measure that? Then certain people, especially in B2B nowadays, the evaluation part happens as a team or as a committee. If you're selling an enterprise software, one person won't have the authority to buy it. It'll be an evaluation committee. So do you have the right white papers, the webinars, the podcasts that these people are looking for? Do you have that content? And then at the bottom, in order to get people to convert, do you have the right tools to push them? Data will play an important part, but it's no point having data if you can't create any contextual insights out of it. So that's why you need to marry your data, look at your funnel, break it down as much as possible, figure out the ideal funnel for you. There are certain things that you can do. You can map the intent of your potential audience, look at your Google Search Console. What are people searching for in your domain? Does your content align to that? Is your funnel aligned with that? At the end of the day, you have to make your customers' lives easier, because there is a ton of content out there. And I think the confusion rates are really high. So it's a matter of being clear, very objective driven, aligning your content to what your consumer is searching for. And obviously, at the end of the day, you need to hit your KPIs. So leads is an important part. So, that's the keyword for sales guys. So we have a few case studies from some of the clients that we work with. So we work with Honeywell in Malaysia quite closely. And obviously, Honeywell is a very B2B kind of a space. They wanted to, they had a few solutions, especially that worked well with the post-pandemic scenario. So the timing was right. So what we did was we looked at a lead gen approach that combined web as well as off-site, basically through the digital channels itself. So how we aligned the funnel was we looked at off-site leads and on-site leads. Timing, like I said, was very crucial because this campaign was around helping enterprises to get their staff to return to work safely. So it kind of married nicely with the objective of the campaign. We wanted to get the messaging right, and then we wanted to create the content funnel right. So we identified certain types of content that worked well, and we started pushing it through various channels, and it worked extremely well. This is another client that we work with. It's a pharmaceutical company called MSD. Again, like for pharmaceutical or pharma marketing, you can't market a solution again because it's against certain rules. So we need to talk about the cause. So here, what we've done is we've gone a little bit deeper, because when you market through a proxy or a third-party site, you need to have different KPIs. So here, what I've mentioned is, how do you educate your customer? How do you convert them? And then how do you educate and convert? Could there be crossovers? So the KPIs for each of these will be different. If you're driving traffic from social ads, it can differ, where people will come to kind of figure out things. When you drive SEM or search ads, the intent is higher, so they're going to convert at certain points. So your KPIs should be accordingly. So here what we've done is we've looked at what people are searching in English, what are they searching in Malay, what are the numbers, do they tally with the sales? So did a big exercise like that to figure out how to align this particular third party or proxy funnel to the site. This is actually a company in Sri Lanka called Kiehl's. They are one of the biggest supermarket chains in the island. So it's a very interesting challenge. They have a massive offline presence. So the brick and mortar business is much higher than the online business, but online is now taking over. So how do you marry the two? So this is actually a screenshot from Google Analytics. So whilst they come into certain pages, this is why I said at the start, people don't do things in a linear way anymore. The funnels are kinked. They will come to the site at certain points. Some people just come in and they might just buy one item and go away. Some people go all the way to the cart and they drop off. And some people get their advice or information online and go buy offline. So you need to marry the two, right? So what we've done here is we've actually looked at their loyalty program, and also we've created certain types of codes from the POS system, and we've got that data fed into Google Analytics. So now we kind of know what the buyer does online and offline, and especially when you drive campaigns online, how much of an impact that has offline as well. So it's an interesting case study where we kind of married the offline and online funnels and looked at how we drive things through an e-commerce platform. And finally, TP-Link, all of you guys know, what happened after the pandemic was there was a lot of boom. There was a lot of discussion about software buying. People were investing in software, but the hardware part was kind of forgotten. So TP-Link wanted to explore the education industry. So we worked with them on a lead gen campaign, which was more of an account-based marketing campaign or an ABM campaign, where we looked at certain accounts they wanted to be in. The main catalyst was actually their site. We also added in an additional competition kind of thing where there was a makeover for their institute. So again, messaging needs to be key. Your targeting needs to be spot on. And I think timing is also key. So this approach actually really worked well for TP-Link as well. So that's about it from me. So just want to leave a few thoughts before I go. Like I said, buyer journeys are kinked. They don't follow a linear path anymore, but we need to maximize the probability of someone showing up at our front door, and we need to maximize the probability of us ending up by solving the problems they have. So that's it from me. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
We actually have one question in the Q&A box right now. So the question is, hi, Talia, is the sales funnel applicable for B2B or is it only for B2C?
It's actually applicable for both B2B as well as B2C. It depends on how you market or how you go to market. For example, in B2B, you might want somebody to download a white paper, attend a webinar, and that kind of stuff. But B2C, most likely, you might want them to go and maybe get an offer or do some action on social, that kind of thing. So it really depends, but definitely both the funnel concept is applicable for both.
All right, fantastic. And I think with that, we can wrap our session here. A absolutely remarkable presentation. You got some compliments in the chat right now. So thank you so much, Celia. It's always a joy to talk to you. You guys have given me a virtual round of applause. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. I'll see
Take
you.
care.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
Exabytes. Grow your business online.